Before the United States was fully formed, it was 13 separate British colonies. In being so, the United States is deeply rooted in a racist agenda which emerged from the social and legal constructions from the Europeans. This created a racist classification system that entailed those with European descent to be at the top of rankings of power and privilege, which then placed indigenous and Africans at the bottom of it. Being so, racial exploitation and commodification is often the result of the structural arrangements of capitalism, and created nearly 2.5 centuries of chattel slavery of Africans in the United States, which culminated in the bloody Civil War that ended in emancipation in 1865. Although there was no more slavery, whiteness was still upheld by the Jim Crow era, which saw almost 1 century of legalized segregation and racial violence conducted through lynchings and massacres. This segregation era allowed for whiteness to prevail by establishing a cultural boundary and using arbitrary laws to contain African Americans for the use of free labor via convict leasing. Once the segregation era ended in 1964, there was a movement to commodify the art, culture, and lifestyle of African Americans, which changed the way consumer culture was presented. There were dancers that would incorporate African dance movements into their image as performers and began the Black is Beautiful movement, signifying black pride in the community. Being in a capitalist society, business became concerned with the movements, but were quick to recognize the potential profit from this. Sports were commodified within the last century, and they have been controlled by white heterosexual men with financial power in advanced capitalist societies ever since. One particular field where African Americans feel ostracized and commodified is within athletics. For example, Serena Williams is one of the greatest tennis players of all time, but she often faces remarks comparing her physical features to an animal, a man, while also being sexualized. In a Fox Sports column, it is said that she chose to smother her beauty in an unsightly layer of muscular blubber. Furthermore, African Americans are not only facing degrading animalistic comments surrounding their physical features, but also criminogenic stereotypes emphasized by the news and media. For instance, something anyone with internet access can do is a simple Google search, one being athletes' mugshots, and it is clear we can already see the criminalization of African American athletes, as 9 out of the 11 people shown are African American. This example holds up whiteness while criminalizing blackness as the media amplifies stories with African American athletes who have committed crime.
Intersection of the
The most
5 and
notable
the
case of
91
putting an
freeway.
African
One thing
American
we have
athlete
been
in the
noticing, again,
spectacle
it's a
is the
very slow
O.J. Simpson
pursuit,
trial.
followed by
Coverage that ensued
numerous
affected
highway
opinions on the
patrol
criminal
vehicles.
justice
But because
system
of the
by
intensity, it
viewing the
seems like
trial as
people have heard
entertainment.
about what's
In the
going
study in
on,
media
and
coverage and
all the
public opinion of
overpasses
the
that we've
O.J.
seen have
Simpson
been lined
trial,
with
it is clear that public perception created by the media made jurors more
what
likely to
has been
side
going
with
on
a
down below
celebrity,
as
while
the
also at the same time
the
creating further
presumed
separation
vehicle
between
of
whites and
O.J.
African
Simpson is still
Americans when
traveling very
debating the
slowly
value of the
northbound
criminal
along
justice
the 5
system.
freeway.
Right? All your parents, all your wives, all your daughters will die. I'll make sure of that.
Another aspect within media that upholds whiteness is how they utilize titles and headings of news articles. For instance, in the video just played features now ex-NHL player Alexander Galchenyuk, who was arrested for impaired driving and also threatens the police's family combined with the most derogatory racial slurs possible. But the video only mentions about threatening police's family, while also throughout the news article posted discusses his issues with alcohol abuse, which differs from how African Americans are treated by the media. To exemplify my point, we will now look at 2 NFL players that both committed violent crimes. Here is Lawrence Phillips, who originally got placed into prison for battering his girlfriend that he was living with and stole her car. Now I'd like to focus on the choice of wording by LA Times, which said that he has been spiraling downward. Next is Barrett Robbins, who is white and played football for the Oakland Raiders. He was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder on officers, but SF Gate reports quite differently about him than LA Times did with Phillips. Here it is noted that he was suffering from an intoxicated bipolar episode. It is sadly often when a white person commits a crime, the media notes them having addiction issues or a mental illness, which calls them to act in such a manner, whereas African Americans are most noted to have anger problems or a tough upbringing. Those are few examples of just how the media demonizes and criminalizes African American athletes when compared to white athletes who have debatably committed worse crimes. The onus of painting whiteness as being calm, clean, and collected is made evident by word choices from the media, which blame their actions on issues such as mental illness. Whereas blackness is presented by the media as being dangerous, brutish, and crude, all the while there is no evidence to suggest that African American athletes commit more crimes. Given that the United States is a capitalist nation with a foundation of settler colonialism, it will manage to criminalize blackness in some form regardless of the time. With that being said, exploiting African American athletics will have global consequences as American media is the farthest reaching in the world and can emphasize the criminogenic stereotypes of black people in regions where few reside. The media needs to start covering more crime by white athletes to help close the divide between whiteness and blackness. Thank you for watching.